Tank carries the power. He's sneaky. Explosive.
Yeah. Sets traps, and he's got ridiculous one-punch knockout power, too. He's just such an interesting fighter because his style is so different from everybody else. He's so conservative in the early rounds, throws so few punches, and he lets you work. He lets you work, and you're backing up, and you're always afraid of that power, and he's just moving in, trying to find that opening where he just gets in there.
Nah, I'm not shocked. I mean, his last fight when he fought Lamont, Jake Paul was at the fight. He told y'all he was going to fight somebody like Jake Paul, so I'm not shocked. It don't surprise me, so.
Joe Rogan recently sounded off on Jake Paul's upcoming clash with Gervonta "Tank" Davis, and his words carried a sharp warning. Speaking on his podcast, Rogan made it clear that stepping in with a knockout machine like Tank is a completely different level compared to the competition Paul has faced so far. He admitted that Jake has shown real commitment to developing his boxing skills, but emphasized that Davis brings a unique mix of speed, power, and fight intelligence that can expose flaws in an instant. For Rogan, this isn't some routine celebrity matchup. It's a dangerous test that could turn ugly fast if Paul underestimates the challenge in front of him.
Boxing has gone too far. Jake Paul is taking on Gervonta "Tank" Davis in an exhibition bout this November. The fight will be taking place in Atlanta between the cruiserweight and the 135-pounder, nearly a 100-pound difference between the two guys. This is absolutely insane. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments.
Joe Rogan has long admired Gervonta "Tank" Davis's punching power, often comparing it to a younger Mike Tyson. In a conversation with comedian Ali Sadiq, Rogan broke down Davis's brutal 7th-round knockout of Ryan Garcia, pointing out how shocking it is that someone with such a compact build can generate so much force. Rogan stressed that there's nothing particularly imposing about Tank's physique at first glance. Yet the moment he lets his hands go, the power is undeniable. Combined with his relentless and aggressive approach in the ring, Rogan explained, that's what makes Davis such an intimidating and dangerous fighter.
Gervonta fan. I think that guy's so unusual.
Yeah.
His style's so unusual, and it's like patience.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Leo Santa Cruz fight was really something for me because Leo Santa Cruz is a technician. He's great, Mexican style, but he's also a technician. And that fight was very close before Tank stopped him.
Yeah.
But he has that power that can end it.
Well, he finds these openings and he sees them, but he doesn't go after them right away. He waits for the right time. He's so patient.
Right.
Like when you watch the early rounds of his fights, he's like at a world champions that are competing today at the highest level, he probably has the lowest punch count in the early rounds.
Yeah.
Because he just wait, but he also knows he's got that nuclear option that if he can fucking crack you, most likely he's going to take you out. He's got massive confidence in that. I like watching someone who's exceptional at it. Where it's just like the technique is so dialed in.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys that like Gervonta Davis is like that. Their technique's so dialed in that when you watch them uncork, it's like, oh my God, the efficiency of it. And so I was just a giant fan of the guy. I just loved as a person who like really enjoyed.
While Rogan has been clear that Jake Paul isn't yet ready to face elite professionals like Gervonta Davis, he has still given the YouTuber-turned-boxer plenty of credit. Rogan has often pointed out that Paul has navigated the entertainment-driven side of the sport brilliantly, carving out a lane that blends showmanship with legitimate competition. He acknowledges that Paul has grown into a real boxer, showing solid skills, developing ring IQ, and consistently landing massive paydays. Rogan also notes that Paul's ability to market himself keeps him at the center of the conversation. Still, despite recognizing Paul's progress, Rogan maintains perspective, reminding fans that much of Paul's career is built on spectacle as much as it is on boxing ability.
Logan Paul, is he a legitimate boxer?
A legitimate boxer, yes. People mocked me when I was saying that before, but now I think people are coming around. And the way I look at it, I say, if this kid was not a YouTuber, if he wasn't some guy that you knew from the time he was like 16 years old on YouTube, and you just saw him box, and you saw him knock out former UFC champions, you saw him beat legitimate boxers, or beat athletes, and beat a bunch of MMA fighters, you'd go, this kid can fucking fight. He knows how to fight. Like, it's not, nothing he's doing looks wrong. He's not like sticking his head straight up in the air and winging punches with his eyes closed. He's fighting well. He looks good. And if he was just an up and coming boxer that was this exciting, like highly promotable, like really good at selling fights, you'd be like, this kid's the future. He's really something special. If Jake Paul wasn't Jake Paul, if he wasn't this YouTube guy, he was just a boxer, and you see a boxer knock out the former UFC welterweight champion, not just the former, but one of the best ever, knock him out with one punch like that, you'd be like, oh man, have you seen this Jake Paul dude coming up? He's fucking for real. Because nothing about watching him fight, to me, screams like he's in over his head. Nothing.
One of the biggest talking points around this matchup is the drastic size difference between the two fighters. Jake Paul, at about 6 feet 1 inch and weighing close to 199 pounds, normally competes as a cruiserweight. On the other hand, Gervonta "Tank" Davis stands around 5'5" 1/2 and fights in the lightweight division, usually weighing in near 135 pounds. That gap of roughly 60 pounds has fueled debates about both fairness and safety. Still, the bout is set to move forward, with reports suggesting that Paul has agreed to trim down to around 195 pounds in an effort to narrow the divide and make the exhibition somewhat more balanced.
Paul versus Gervonta Davis is official. A lightweight takes on a heavyweight, a bit insane, a big size difference, but also a speed difference. I want to talk about this fight, get my picks and predictions for how it's going to play out, and basically just let's run it. So the only combat sports fight I can think of off the top of my head that was similar in the size disparity is Buckley versus Riskiest. Now look at these guys. Buckley is 5'6", I believe 5'7". Riskiest is 6'5". It just looks ridiculous. And Jake Paul, it says 6'1", but I think he's more like 6'2". He's a big fucking dude, 76-inch reach. Well, Gervonta's only 5'5", with a 9-inch reach disadvantage on Jake Paul. 9-inch reach. You're having a laugh, bud. But she's not all about size, boys. As Buckley showed against Riskiest, speed is a factor, and these little guys can move. Buckley actually won this fight on points. A lot of jabs to the body, jab to the body, overhand right, on repeat. Rinse and repeat, use your speed, get out of range. When you're in range, you're hitting the body, hitting up top. When you're out of range, you're just moving around and keeping the big man moving. And I do see this going a similar way. Now, I'm not a Jake Paul hater by any means. I actually think he's pretty decent. But just the size difference, I mean, he weighs almost 100 pounds more than Gervonta. I mean, he is going to be a lot slower. And Jake isn't the most explosive and the quickest guy. I mean, like I said, I'm no Jake Paul hater. I actually think he's pretty good. He's got power, a lot of power. But he's just not that quick, and Gervonta is very fucking quick. Now there is no way in the world Gervonta Davis finishes Jake Paul. You cannot pay me enough on that pick. But Gervonta Davis on points, I think is basically signed, sealed, delivered. It's going to be jab to the body, move, jab to the body and move. And jab to the body again and move. It's all it's going to be. So if you're paying for this fight, I mean, I think it's on Netflix, so most of us should be locked and loaded, but if you're going any way to pay for this one, don't even bother. It's going to be boring as fuck. It's going to be Gervonta jabbing the body and Jake Paul missing overhands. That's what this fight's going to be, and it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be 120 to 100 in favor of the little man. 5'5", 63-inch reach, Gervonta Tank.
For Gervonta Davis, the biggest risk in this matchup isn't physical, it's his reputation. Losing to Jake Paul, who holds a 12-1 record but lacks deep professional experience, could damage how fans and boxing traditionalists view him. For Paul, however, the stakes are very different. Defeating an established, undefeated world champion would skyrocket his credibility and cement his transition from entertainer to serious boxer. Still, not everyone sees the fight as a positive step for the sport. Critics, including Ryan Garcia, have questioned its legitimacy, comparing it more to a scripted wrestling spectacle than a genuine boxing contest. Garcia openly mocked the notion of Davis fighting at close to 195 pounds, calling it unrealistic and warning that boxing is veering away from competition and toward money-driven exhibitions. Despite the backlash, the event is expected to draw massive viewership worldwide, with Netflix broadcasting it live. To many, this fight represents the new trend in boxing, where popularity and paydays often outweigh merit and tradition.
I think Davis is more to lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you. You can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinching? You ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch at lightweight. Can he drop a heavyweight? There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks...
The answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah, but if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion, multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Algieri, the champ, even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy if he hits you clean. So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public. So there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing, and I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot?
Right, so it looks like it's official that Jake Paul is going to be fighting Tank Davis. So pretty crazy considering Jake Paul is 6'1", 220 walking around, and Tank Davis is 5'5", I think he's 140 walking around. So we're talking about 80-pound weight difference and then 8 inches of height. Everyone's been telling Jake Paul that he needs to fight real fighters in their prime. And Gervonta Tank Davis is in his prime and one of the best fighters out there. But
Joe Rogan has also questioned Jake Paul's choices outside of this particular fight, pointing to the delay of a potential matchup with Anthony Joshua until 2026. Rogan even joked that the postponement was suspicious, quipping that it felt unnecessary when both fighters seemed ready to go now. To him, the delay raised more questions than answers and hinted that there might be motives beyond simple preparation. Even with Paul's size advantage, many analysts continue to back Gervonta Tank Davis to secure a knockout. Former champion Sean Porter went as far as to predict a decisive finish, confidently stating that he's putting his money on Davis. That sentiment is widely shared. Experts argue that Tank's speed, ring intelligence, and proven knockout ability can offset the size disparity and expose Paul's flaws. The fight has split opinions within the boxing world. Critics argue it cheapens the sport's integrity, turning it into more of a spectacle than a contest, while others see it as a savvy move that guarantees massive attention and financial payoff. Regardless of where people stand, it's clear the matchup has stirred major conversation, and that in itself makes it one of the most talked about events in boxing.
What Gervonta Davis did for your preparation?
You know what? I think getting him on the back end of the sparring was more so to make sure the eyes and the focus and everything's there. He is one of the sharpest boxers I've ever been in the ring with, and I'm sure it won't change. It won't change much after being in the ring with Terrence. I would imagine that Terrence will be the sharpest, but that boy Tank is sharp.
Tank Davis knock out Jake Paul? That's a question that many people are asking now that they're actually set to fight November 14th. Most people think that the weight disadvantage is going to play a major role in how this fight's going to turn out. Personally, I could kind of see a knockout. We already saw how Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather did, and that was like the same type of weight difference, I believe. Also, on top of that, any punch could be a knockout shot. It just has to be placed well with time. And we know that Tank has explosiveness and amazing timing and accuracy. So at the end of the day, it's always possible. But do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. I think it's just going to be another Jake Paul decision fest match. I don't think that anything super exciting is going to happen, but it is kind of interesting to think about. Let me know what you think in the comments below.
If you do fight, what weight would it be at?
195. It would be an exhibition.
Okay, so it was going to be an exhibition, not sanctioned, but no restrictions. You could knock each other out and shit like that. It was going to be at a catch weight of 195 pounds, 10 rounds, 3 minutes. I've been trying to figure this out. Why was I a Tank hater for wanting to see Tank go up 5 pounds to get some smoke with like Teofimo Lopez or something. I just wanted to see him go up 5 pounds and fight Teofimo Lopez. And all of you were saying, you want Tank hurt, Showbiz. You a hater. You want him hurt. Then I'm convinced, okay, he's too
Daniel Cormier admitted he was stunned when news broke about Jake Paul taking on Gervonta Davis, emphasizing that the 60-pound weight difference is the most alarming part of the matchup. Speaking on The Herd with Colin Cowherd, Cormier described the bout as more spectacle than sport, but still pointed out that many oddsmakers have Davis as the favorite, his world-class skills outweighing Paul's size and promotional edge. Former UFC legend Georges St-Pierre also offered advice for Paul, drawing from his own career. Ahead of Paul's scheduled fight with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., GSP cautioned him not to dwell on past defeats, specifically referencing his own upset loss to Matt Serra as an example of how chasing revenge can be mentally destructive. Instead, he advised Paul to focus on growth and discipline. St-Pierre was particularly impressed with Paul's performance against Anderson Silva, praising his sharp body work, defensive improvements, and overall fight IQ. Beyond the ring, he credited the Paul brothers for capitalizing on the social media era with relentless work ethic and smart business moves, though he was quick to add that they are still far from the level of boxing's true elite.
So Jake Paul is fighting Gervonta Davis. I'm serious. It's real. 199 in Paul's last fight, 133.8 for Davis in his last fight. I discussed that and so much more at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific at my YouTube channel. The link will be in my bio. But hey, I thought he was going to fight Anthony Joshua. How do you end up from Anthony Joshua to Tank Davis?
There has an 11-1 boxing record. The one came from a guy by the name of Tommy Fury.
Yeah, watch that fight.
Jake, obviously, super hungry kid, wants to avenge that loss, but Tommy won't take the fight.
When I lost to Matt Serra, I was obsessed of revenge. So one of the sport psychologists, he made me take a brick and wrote the name Sarah on it. So he made me carry a freaking brick in my training bag until the point I couldn't take it anymore. He made me go to the Saint Laurent River and he made me throw the brick. When I did this, it kind of releases me. But my point is that it's awful and it must stink like fucking crazy, but you need to focus on the next task.
Boxing great Carl Froch didn't hold back when asked about Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis. He flat out called the fight a mockery, blasting Paul as a sideshow and dismissing Davis's recent opponents, like Mike Tyson and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., as way past their prime. Froch went as far as saying that if it were for the sake of boxing, he'd gladly come out of retirement just to shut Paul down, even a decade removed from his last fight. In Froch's view, the matchup is the perfect example of boxing sliding into clown territory. And he's not alone. Many critics see this as more spectacle than sport, an exhibition built on weight mismatches, loose rules, and streaming hype rather than real competition. Former champ Andre Berto even admitted it's a clever financial play, prioritizing paydays over legitimacy. The backlash has been widespread. On The Herd, the fight was labeled baffling, and a dangerous step toward boxing turning into pure sideshow entertainment. Ryan Garcia didn't mince words either, mocking the whole thing as a WWE-style stunt instead of a true boxing contest.
Just here at Los Naranjos in Viva, España, and I found out that Gervonta Davis is now fighting Jake Paul. So Jake Paul was supposed to be fighting AJ. Eddie Hearn announced 99% done, which we've just spoke about. What next for AJ? Potentially Jake Paul. But it now looks like that Jake Paul is fighting one of Anthony Joshua's legs. He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on. Has Eddie Hearn been played? Let me know what you think. But the AJ fight with Jake Paul's finished. Gervonta Davis, fake Paul, November. I don't know what's going on in the world of boxing. This is an absolute joke. What next for AJ? We'll get into this, and there's so many questions I want to get into in the next episode. But I hope you enjoyed this one. And yeah, I just thought I'd give you a quick update because the news has just come in and I'm just trying to relax and play a bit of golf and I can't. I've got to get it off my chest. I'm going to add it to this video. Hope you enjoy it. Don't forget, if you haven't already, hit like, share and subscribe to the best channel in the business, Fresh on Fighting, and we'll see you very.
How about Jake? What do you think of Jake?
Clown. He's a clown. I know that Jake can't fight. He can't fight. So
would you look at it as a joke if someone, if your team was like, yo, we want you to fight Jake Paul? Would you be like, come on, man?
I laugh at him. You want me to fight him? At first, I didn't like how Jake Paul was coming because of how he was making it look. But now that I see that, I feel as though he's still a clown because that's his personality. I'm starting to respect it because he's not doing it like for the hype. He was really like trying to be a boxer. I think that he's decent.
Yeah.
Like he's good. I mean, he's not good, but he's going that way.
Is he better than you thought he'd be?
Yeah.
Gotta be mentally tough to be able to box. So that's why I don't take that away from some fighters or some people that want to jump into the sport. So just show how tough you are.